Start English. From today. My name is Allie. I live in a small town where most people speak our local language. English was always like a mystery to me, something I saw in movies, on signs, and sometimes in books, but I never really understood it. One day, I was sitting in my room feeling frustrated. I had seen a job post online that said, "Good English skills required." I wanted that job, but I knew my English wasn't good enough. That night, I sat quietly and thought to myself, if I don't start today, I will never learn. So I made a decision. Start English from today. The next morning, I woke up early. I took a notebook and wrote my first sentence in English. My name is Ali. It was a small start, but it made me proud. I began watching videos with English subtitles. I listened carefully and repeated the words. I read children's books because they were simple and easy to understand. Some days were hard. I couldn't remember words. Sometimes I felt like giving up. But every time I felt down, I said to myself, "You started English. Don't stop now." Slowly, I got better. I could introduce myself. I could ask for directions. I could even help others who wanted to learn English. My friends noticed the change, and some of them started learning with me too. Now, I'm not perfect, but I am confident. I can speak, I can write, and I'm not afraid to try. This journey taught me something important. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to become great. One day, something amazing happened. I joined an online English-speaking group. People from all over the world were there: India, Brazil, Egypt, and even Japan. We all had one thing in common. We wanted to speak better English. At first, I just listened. Then, I introduced myself. "Hello, my name is Ali. I'm learning English. Nice to meet you." Everyone clapped and smiled. That small moment gave me so much confidence. Soon, I was speaking every day. I learned how to express my feelings, talk about my hobbies, and even tell stories. I started writing a daily journal in English. Just 3 sentences a day. Sometimes simple like, "Today, I was happy. I learned a new word. Journey. English is my journey." My teachers at school were surprised. My confidence in all subjects improved. Even when I didn't know the exact word, I tried to explain it another way. That's the power of practice. Then, one evening, my younger brother came to me and said, "Ali, can you teach me English?" I smiled. The boy who once feared English was now someone's teacher. I started helping him with basic words, just like I had learned. Now, English is part of my life. I read books, watch movies, and write stories, all in English. It opened a new world for me. I always tell people, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to speak English, just take the first step. Start English from today and never stop. Start English from today. Part 3. The dream grows. 1 year later, my life looked very different. Because of English, I got a part-time online job helping students with translation. I wasn't rich, but I was proud. I could finally help my family with some money, all because I made the choice to start English from that one day. But deep inside, I had a dream. I wanted to study abroad. I had seen photos of universities in other countries. I imagined myself walking through green campuses, meeting people from different cultures, and learning things I had only read about in books. There was a scholarship program that required an English test. It was difficult: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. At first, I was scared. Can I really do this? Am I ready? But then I looked back at how far I had come. I remembered my first sentence. My name is Ali. And I said to myself, yes, I am ready. I studied hard. I practiced every day. I even recorded myself speaking and corrected my own mistakes. On the day of the test, I was nervous, but I did my best. Weeks passed. Then, one morning, I got an email. Congratulations, Ali. You have been selected for the scholarship. I couldn't believe it. I shouted, laughed, and cried all at once. I ran to my mother and showed her the message. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood my smile. Today, I'm studying in another country. I speak English every day. I still make mistakes, but I no longer fear them. I learn from them. And every time someone asks me, "How did you learn English so well?" I smile and say, "I started English from today." Moral of the story: you don't need perfect English to begin. You need courage, just a notebook, a little time, and a strong heart. Like me, you can do it too. So, don't wait for the perfect day. Make today the day you start. Start English from today. Start English from today. Part 4. Giving back. Now I live in a new country. I study, make new friends, and grow every day. But I never forget where I came from, or how my journey started with just one sentence in a notebook. One weekend, I received a message on social media from a boy named Samir, who lived in my old neighborhood. He wrote in broken English, "Hello, brother. I see your story. I want to speak English too. Can you help me?" Tears came to my eyes. I remembered being just like him, not knowing where to start, afraid to speak, afraid to fail. I replied, "Of course, Samir. I will help you. Let's start English from today." That's when a new dream began, to help others learn English, just like I did. I started a small online group for people from my town. At first, there were only 5 students. I taught them simple sentences. "How are you? What is your name?" "I am learning English." We laughed, practiced, and encouraged each other. Soon more people joined, young boys, girls, even adults. Some had never spoken a word of English before, but they were brave, just like I was. After some time, we started calling ourselves Today Learners, because each of us believed in one thing: you don't wait for tomorrow, you start today. A local school heard about our group and invited me to give a talk. I stood in front of 200 students and shared my story. I showed them the same notebook where I had written my first sentence. "My name is Ali." Then I looked at them and said, "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Open your notebook, write one sentence, read one line, listen to one new word. That's how it begins." They clapped, not because I was a hero, but because they saw someone who started just like them. Now I teach English, help others speak with confidence, and inspire students around the world. I still study every day. I still learn new words. The journey never ends. But everything I have, every word I speak, every place I visit, every student I teach, started with one simple decision: start English from today. The end and a new beginning. This is my story. If you are reading this, maybe you are ready to write your own. So take a deep breath, believe in yourself, and write your first sentence. Your story starts now. Start English from today. Start English from today. Part 5. A Voice Across the World. Months passed. The small group I started had now grown into something much bigger. People from other cities, and even other countries, began joining. Some didn't know even one word of English, but they had one thing: the courage to begin. One day, I received an email from an international organization that supports young educators. They had seen my story and the work I was doing with students online. The email said, "Ali, your journey is inspiring. We would love for you to speak at our global youth conference." Me? Speak at a global conference? At first, I thought it was a mistake. I read the email again and again, but it was real. They wanted me to share my story, with thousands of people watching. I was scared. What if I make mistakes? What if I forget my words? But then I remembered English is not about being perfect, it's about being brave. Just like I had told Samir, just like I had told all my students. So I said yes. When the day of the conference came, I stood in front of a camera. My hands were shaking. My voice was soft at first. But as I spoke, I grew stronger. I told my story, from the first sentence in my notebook to the students I now teach. And when I finished, the chat box filled with messages. You inspired me. I will start English from today. Thank you, Ali. At that moment, I knew. I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was changing lives. Now I work with teachers around the world. I create lessons, make easy videos, and write simple stories, just like this one for people who want to learn English. And whenever someone says, I'm too old, or I'm too weak, or I can't speak, I tell them the same thing I told myself many years ago. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Start English from today. Ali's story lives on. Today, many others are writing their own stories. Students, workers, parents, and even grandparents, because one young man believed in one simple idea. So now I ask you, what's your story? Will you start English from today? Start English from today. Part 6. A Voice from the Past. One sunny afternoon, I returned to my hometown after many years. The streets looked smaller now, but the memories felt big. I walked past my old school, the park where I used to read my English notebook, and the shop where I once bought my first English dictionary. I decided to visit my old teacher, Mr. Rahman, the one who always encouraged us but knew many students were too shy to try English. He was now retired, sitting peacefully on his porch reading a newspaper. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. Ali? He said, with surprise and pride. Yes, sir, I replied, smiling. It's me. We talked for hours. I told him everything about my first sentence, the scholarship, the online group, the global conference. He listened quietly, then said something I'll never forget. I always knew someone from our small school would do something big. And you did it, Ali. Not just for yourself, but for others. Then he asked, Do you still have your first notebook? I pulled it out of my bag and handed it to him. He flipped through the pages, smiled, and said, This is where your journey began, and now you're helping others begin theirs. As we talked, a small boy passed by, holding a book. He stopped and stared at us. Then he came closer and shyly said, Are you the Ali who teaches English online? I laughed and nodded. Yes, that's me. He said, I follow your videos. I just started learning. I wrote my first sentence yesterday. My name is Imran. My heart felt full. A new journey had begun. For Imran, just like it did for me. Ali's final words. That evening, I sat under the tree where I once practiced speaking alone. I closed my eyes and whispered, Thank you, English, for giving me a voice, for giving me purpose, for helping me find my dream and share it. And to anyone, anywhere in the world who still wonders if they can do it, I say, yes, you can. Because I did. And I started English from today. I'm honored to continue this journey with you. Here's part 7, a chapter about legacy and the power of one voice. Start English from today. Part 7, the spark spreads. Years passed, but the message never faded. The words, Start English from today, became more than just a sentence. They became a movement. People across villages, towns, and even other countries began using that phrase to inspire learning. One day, I was invited to a large education conference in my home country. Hundreds of teachers, students, and parents gathered to talk about change. I was chosen as the keynote speaker. As I walked onto the stage, I looked at the sea of faces, young and old, nervous and excited. I took a deep breath and began. Many years ago, I sat alone with one sentence in my notebook. Just one. My name is Ali. I didn't know much English. I didn't even know where to start. But I told myself, start English from today. That sentence changed my life. It gave me opportunities, confidence, and most importantly, the power to help others. The audience listened in silence. You don't need big money. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need a small start and a strong heart. Then I took out my old notebook, now protected in a plastic cover, and showed it to them. This, I said, is where everything began. After the speech, people lined up to talk to me. Some were crying, some wanted help, some just wanted to say thank you. But one girl said something I'll never forget. I started English from yesterday because I saw someone like me who did it. And that's when I truly understood. I wasn't just helping people speak a language, I was helping people believe in themselves. A legacy begins. Soon, schools across the country started Start English from Today clubs. Students wrote their first sentences proudly. Communities shared simple lessons. Grandmothers practiced with their grandchildren. English became a bridge, not between countries, but between fear and hope. And as for me, I keep going. I still teach. I still learn. I still carry that notebook with me to remind myself and others that even the smallest beginning can lead to the greatest journey. So now, I leave this message for you, the reader. You have a voice. You have a dream. And it all begins with one decision. Start English from today, and one day someone will thank you for it. Of course. Here's part 8, the chapter where Ali's mission reaches the world in a new and powerful way. Start English from today. Part 8, One World, One Language of Hope. Ali's name had slowly become known, not as a celebrity, but as a quiet leader, not someone who chased fame, but someone who built bridges with words. His story was being translated into many languages. Schools, organizations, and even governments were sharing his simple message. Start English from today. One day, Ali received an invitation from the United Nations. They were organizing a global education summit focused on literacy and opportunity. The email read, "Dear Ali, your work has impacted thousands. We would be honored if you shared your story with the world." This time, Ali wasn't afraid. He had told his story many times, but this moment felt different, bigger. He wasn't just telling his story now. He was carrying the stories of every student who had written their first English sentence because of him. The day the world listened. Ali stood at the podium in a hall filled with people from every corner of the world. There were translators in small booths, lights shining above, and cameras rolling. Yet in Ali's heart, it felt like he was just talking to one person, the person who still hadn't begun. He began, "I am not a professor. I am not famous. I am just a boy who wrote one sentence in a notebook. My name is Ali." From that moment, my world changed, and since that day, I've helped thousands change theirs. He shared stories of Imran, Samir, grandmothers learning with their grandchildren, young girls speaking out loud for the first time, and men who once feared reading now reading bedtime stories to their kids. Then he paused and said, "If English was just a subject, I would have given up, but it became my second voice, and that voice gave me confidence, connection, and a dream." He ended with a sentence he had spoken in many places, but this time it echoed across the world. "It doesn't matter how small you begin, just begin. Start English from today." The room rose in a standing ovation, not for Ali, but for every student who ever believed they could. A new chapter begins after the summit. Ali was offered a global role, creating simple English learning programs for countries with low access to education. But instead of working in an office far away, he chose something different: to continue traveling, meeting students, listening to their stories, and reminding them, you are not late. You are just early in your own journey. And so, from one small notebook came a wave of change. From one sentence came thousands of voices. And from one person's choice to begin, a generation began learning. Wherever you are in the world, whoever you are, Ali's story has now reached you. And now it's your turn. Pick up your pen, open your heart, write your first sentence. Start English from today, because you never know how far one sentence can take you. Absolutely. Here's part 9. A powerful conclusion where the message lives beyond Ali himself. Start English from today, part 9. The circle completes. Years had passed. Ali was older now, not the nervous boy with a notebook, but a man who had walked through many countries, classrooms, and hearts. But even with all his success, one dream still remained: to build a place, a real place. A school, not just any school, but one where anyone of any age, from any background, could come and say proudly, I am starting English from today. And finally, that dream came true. The first Start English from Today school. It was a small building, painted in warm colors, standing proudly in the middle of Ali's hometown. On the front wall was a sentence in big, clear letters: This is where English begins. Inside, the school had no exams, no fear, and no shame. It had laughter, chalk dust, and quiet reading corners. There were children, mothers, farmers, tailors, and even elders with gray hair, sitting side by side, learning together. The first lesson of every student? My name is, just like Ali once wrote. Every classroom had a notebook shelf where students could leave a message after each lesson. One message stood out. It read, I didn't just learn English here. I learned to believe in myself. Ali walked the halls quietly every day, talking to students, telling stories, encouraging progress. He no longer needed a stage or spotlight. This was his real reward. A young girl with a big dream one afternoon, a 10-year-old girl named Noor came up to Ali. She held her notebook close and said, Sir, I finished writing my first story in English. Can I read it to you? Ali smiled and sat beside her. She read with a soft voice, full of effort, full of pride. When she finished, Ali clapped and said, Noor, that was beautiful. You know, I think you're going to help many people one day. She looked up and asked, Like you? Ali nodded. No, better than me. And in that moment, Ali knew something deep inside. His story was no longer just his. It had become a seed planted in thousands of hearts. The final page. Ali kept the first notebook he ever wrote in a glass box at the entrance of the school. Students touched it gently like a treasure, as if to say, if he could do it, I can too. And every year, on the same day he wrote his first English sentence, the school held a celebration called the Day of First Sentences. People came from all over the world to share the moment they started English from today. Ali often stood in the back, watching the new voices rise, smiling quietly. And now, dear reader, the story turns to you. You followed Ali's journey. You felt his fear, his courage, and his triumph. Now it's your turn. What will your first sentence be? Write it, speak it, live it, because your voice matters. Your story is waiting. And all it takes is one step. Start English from today, with joy. Here's part 10, the heartfelt and eternal continuation, where you become part of the story. Start English from today, part 10, your turn. Ali's school became more than just a building. It became a light People came from many countries not just to learn, but to remember something important. That no dream is too small and no person is too late to start. One quiet evening, Ali sat alone in the reading garden, under a tree filled with hanging paper notes. Each paper had a sentence written by a student. He gently took one in his hand. It said, "Today I believe I can." He smiled. That's all he ever wanted, for people to believe in themselves. Just then, a visitor walked through the garden. She looked nervous and held a notebook close to her chest. She saw Ali and softly said, "I came here to start English, but I'm scared." Ali didn't rush her. He simply said, "Sit with me. Let's write your first sentence together." She opened her notebook. Her hand shook, but letter by letter, she wrote, "My name is Amina." Ali placed his hand over the notebook gently. "That," he said, "is the beginning of everything. The story lives in you today. There are thousands of stories like Amina's. Some are short, some are full of mistakes, some are beautiful poems, but all of them have one thing in common. They began. And that's what matters most. Now it's your turn, yes, you reading this right now. Whether you're young or old, confident or afraid, this story is not finished. Because now it belongs to you. Pick up your pen, open your mouth, whisper your name, speak your first sentence. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be you. And when you do, know this: you're not alone. Ali is with you. Amina is with you. The whole world of learners is with you. Because all of us began with the same promise: start English from today. And now you carry that promise forward. Start English from today. Part 11. The Ripple Effect. Time passed and Ali's school grew even more. It was no longer just a place to learn English. It became a symbol, a reminder that it is never too late to start. New classes opened every day. The school walls were filled with the writings of students who had once been too scared to speak, but now proudly shared their voices. Ali, however, knew that it wasn't just about grammar and vocabulary. English wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something greater. He'd always believed that learning a language wasn't just about learning new words. It was about finding your voice. One day, a visitor arrived from a distant country, a teacher named Sarah. She had been reading about Ali's work and was inspired by his message. She came to see the school for herself. "Ali," Sarah said as she entered the building, "I've seen many schools, but this place, there's something different about it. The energy, the hope. You've built a community here." Ali smiled. "We're building more than just students. We're building people who believe in themselves." Sarah looked around and then quietly added, "I've been teaching for many years, but I never realized how much starting means. Here, you don't just teach language, you teach courage." The impact spreads. Ali's story was no longer just one person's journey. It had become the story of countless others. From every corner of the world, people were sending messages. "I started English today. I spoke for the first time. I wrote my first sentence." Ali's simple belief in starting had created a movement, spreading across borders, transcending barriers. He received emails, letters, and messages on social media from people in Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. They shared their stories, their first steps toward confidence, their first words in a new language, their first moments of pride. It was a ripple effect, a spark that had turned into a flame. And as the world grew smaller through technology and connection, so did the reach of the simple idea that started Ali's journey. The new generation takes over years later. Ali sat on a bench outside the school, watching the students pass by, some laughing, some practicing speaking, others reading quietly. He was no longer the main teacher. He had handed that role over to the new generation, his students, now teachers themselves. He watched Noor, the young girl who had once read her first story to him. She was now standing at the front of a classroom, speaking to a new group of eager learners. When she saw Ali, she smiled and said, "I'm teaching now, Ali. Just like you taught me, I'm helping others start their journey." Ali looked around at the students in the school, all writing their first sentences in their notebooks, all taking that first step, just like he had so many years ago. The final thought. Ali closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "This is how change begins." With one sentence, with one voice, and just like that, the ripple continued. Now, it's time to start your story. The journey doesn't end here. You've been with Ali through every chapter. His story is now part of your own, and just as he began with one sentence, you can begin with yours. Take a moment and think, what will your first sentence be? Where will your journey take you? Who will you inspire? Because just like Ali, you have the power to change your world, to make an impact, and to believe in yourself. The moment you start is the moment everything changes. So, what are you waiting for? Start English from today. Start English from today. Part 12. The Never-Ending Journey. Ali was sitting in his quiet office one evening, looking out the window at the peaceful landscape. The school was bustling, but at that moment, he was lost in thought. The journey that had started so simply, with one notebook, one sentence, and one decision, had turned into something far beyond what he could have imagined. But even with all the success, Ali knew one thing deep in his heart. The journey was never really finished. Each day brought new faces, new students, new stories, and in each person he saw the same spark that had started within him, the desire to be better, to overcome fear, to find confidence through language. Ali picked up his old notebook once again. The pages were yellowed now, the edges worn, but each word, each line, was still full of life. He thought about how much he had learned from his students over the years, how much they had taught him about strength, patience, and perseverance. He had always been the teacher, but now he realized that teaching wasn't just about showing others the way. It was about walking alongside them on the journey. The new challenge. One day, a young teacher from the school came to Ali, looking eager, yet a little anxious. "Ali, I've been thinking," she began. "I've helped many students start English, but what if we could help them learn more than just the language? What if we could give them the skills to shape their future, not just speak words, but write their own stories? Help them dream bigger?" Ali smiled and nodded. "That's exactly what you should do. Help them dream, because language is a bridge, but imagination is what gets us across." The teacher's eyes lit up. "Yes, I'll start today." And so, the next chapter of the school began. It wasn't just about learning English anymore. It was about helping students unlock their dreams. The school expanded its vision, offering lessons in technology, creative writing, public speaking, and even entrepreneurship. Because Ali knew that English wasn't just a tool, it was a key. And with that key, students could unlock doors to endless possibilities. The world that listens. As the years went by, Ali's message continued to spread, not just through his students, but through people who had been touched by their stories. His simple idea of starting English from today became a mantra not just for the classroom, but for anyone who wanted to grow, to change, and to make a difference. In a world that was constantly changing, the one thing that remained constant was this: anyone could start, anyone could learn, anyone could dream. And it wasn't just about language. It was about creating opportunities. It was about shaping a world where people weren't afraid to try, to speak, and to share their voice. Your journey continues. As Ali looked out the window that evening, he realized something. The world was full of students, students who were just like him. Every person had the potential to begin. Every person had the power to learn, to grow, and to start. And just like that, his journey continued. But now it was no longer just his. It was yours too. Because, you see, your story is just beginning. You've walked alongside Ali. You've shared in his struggles, his triumphs, and his moments of doubt. But most importantly, you've learned that the first step, the simple decision to begin, is the key to everything. So, what will you do now? Will you take the first step? Will you start your journey today with one simple sentence? The world is waiting for your story. The world is waiting for you to begin. Start English from today. The end? No, the story isn't over. The story never truly ends because it lives on in each person who decides to begin, to try, and to dream. The next chapter is yours. Will you write it? Start English from today. Part 13. The Circle of Change. Ali had never imagined that one day he would be standing where he was now, not as a teacher, but as a witness to the growth of others. The school had grown into a community, a place where learners of all ages came not just to study a language, but to change their lives. One afternoon, Ali was sitting under the same tree where he had once shared his first sentence with Noor. The breeze whispered through the leaves, and the sound of laughter echoed from the classrooms. The energy of the place had shifted. It was no longer about a single teacher or even one student. It was about a collective effort. Ali had always believed that each person carried a story, and now every person in the school was creating their own story, one sentence at a time. As he sat there, a young man walked up to him. He had an eager, determined look in his eyes. His name was Youssef, and he was from a nearby village. He had heard about the school and came seeking help. Ali, Youssef said, I've been working in the fields all my life. I never learned to read or write, but I know that if I want something more for my children, I need to learn English. Ali looked at him, a gentle smile playing on his lips. Youssef, you've already taken the hardest step. You've decided to start, and that is more than enough. Youssef nodded, his eyes filled with hope. I want to be a role model for my children. I want them to see me learning and believe they can do the same. Ali stood up, placing a hand on Youssef's shoulder. That is the spirit of this school. You're not just learning for yourself. You're learning for the future, for the next generation. And that's where true change happens. The legacy of belief. It became clear to Ali that his mission had changed. It wasn't just about teaching English anymore. It was about creating a legacy of belief. Belief that anyone could learn. Belief that no matter your background, your age, or your fears, it was never too late to start. Ali had taught students of all ages, but the most powerful students were the ones who understood that learning wasn't just about filling your head with knowledge, it was about filling your heart with hope. Your legacy begins. And now, it's your turn. You've been reading Ali's story for a long time. You've seen him struggle, learn, grow, and teach. But the truth is, the most important part of this journey is you. Every time you read a sentence, speak a word, or write a phrase in English, you're creating your own story. Just like Ali, just like Youssef, just like Noor, you are beginning a new chapter. What does your first sentence look like? Maybe it's as simple as, my name is your name? Or maybe it's a sentence full of ambition like, I want to speak English with the world. Or maybe it's something deeper, something personal like, I am not afraid to try. Whatever your sentence is, it's your beginning. It's the spark that will ignite everything that follows. And remember, the journey you start today isn't just for you, it's for those around you. You will inspire others, just like Ali did. And one day, someone will look at you and say, I started because I saw you begin. The ripple of change. In every corner of the world, there are people just like you, waiting to start. Some may not know how to begin. Some may be afraid to take that first step. But the beauty of this journey is that you are not alone. When you start English today, you're joining a global community of dreamers and doers. You're part of a ripple that will spread across borders, generations, and hearts. And just like Ali, you'll look back one day and realize that small decision to begin changed everything. Your journey is forever. So, what happens next? You've already started. Every word, every sentence, every page is a step closer to a new world. The story never ends because learning doesn't stop. Even when you've mastered English, there will always be something new to learn, new people to meet, and new dreams to chase. The door to growth is always open, and the world is waiting for you to walk through it. Start English from today, and remember, your story is just beginning. As the last sentence is written, the story of Ali and the millions of learners who started with him will continue to unfold. What will your next chapter be? Will you share your first sentence with the world or start by simply telling someone, I've started today? Start English from today. Part 14. The future unfolds. Years had passed since Ali first started his school. His life had changed, but so had the lives of countless others. The lessons taught inside the walls of that small school had spread like wildfire, igniting sparks of hope and possibility in people all around the world. Ali had always believed that language was more than just words. It was a way of connecting, a way to bridge the gap between people, cultures, and dreams. And now, more than ever, he saw how his simple message, "Start English from today," had blossomed into a global movement. The school had grown. New branches had opened in different cities. The teachers, once students themselves, now traveled the world, sharing the same message. It's never too late to begin. A new chapter. The digital classroom. One day, Ali sat in his office, scrolling through messages on his laptop. The world had changed even more rapidly, and the digital age had created new opportunities for learning. Ali had always known that English could open doors, but now it could open entire worlds. A message from a former student, now a teacher, caught his eye. Ali, I've created an online platform for people to start English from today. It's free and accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. The lessons are simple, the focus is on speaking and understanding, and the community is growing rapidly. Ali felt a rush of pride. The message was clear. The dream had gone beyond what he could have imagined. He responded quickly, "This is exactly what we need. A classroom without walls, a world where no one is limited by geography or fear." The online platform flourished, and soon, students from every continent were coming together, learning together, and sharing their stories. Ali knew this was the future of education, a world where anyone could start at any time, no matter where they were, no matter their background. A global family of learners. The digital classroom was vibrant. Every day, students from different countries would connect and practice speaking, reading, and writing. There were groups for young children, adults who wanted to improve their careers, and even elderly people who had always dreamed of learning English but thought it was too late. But the most beautiful part of it all wasn't just the language, it was the community. Students shared their dreams, supported each other through challenges, and celebrated each other's successes. The platform became more than just a place to learn, it became a family. Ali had always said that the most important part of learning wasn't memorizing words, but finding connection. And now, in this global classroom, he saw that connection blooming everywhere. The future you create now, as Ali looked back on everything, the first sentence, the first student, the first classroom, he realized that it had all come full circle. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everyone who had believed in the message of starting today. And now it's your turn. You've already begun. Whether you're learning English, exploring new skills, or dreaming of a better future, you're part of this larger movement. You are creating your own story, and that story matters. The online platform flourished, and soon, students from every continent were coming together, learning together, and sharing their stories. Ali knew this was the future of education, a world where anyone could start at any time, no matter where they were, no matter their background. A global family of learners. The digital classroom was vibrant. Every day, students from different countries would connect and practice speaking, reading, and writing. There were groups for young children, adults who wanted to improve their careers, and even elderly people who had always dreamed of learning English but thought it was too late. But the most beautiful part of it all wasn't just the language, it was the community. Students shared their dreams, supported each other through challenges, and celebrated each other's successes. The platform became more than just a place to learn, it became a family. Ali had always said that the most important part of learning wasn't memorizing words, but finding connection. And now, in this global classroom, he saw that connection blooming everywhere. The future you create now, as Ali looked back on everything, the first sentence, the first student, the first classroom, he realized that it had all come full circle. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everyone who had believed in the message of starting today. And now, it's your turn. You've already begun. Whether you're learning English, exploring new skills, or dreaming of a better future, you're part of this larger movement. You are creating your own story, and that story matters. What will you do with your voice? What dreams will you bring to life? What first sentence will you speak to start? Remember, the journey never ends. Each day is a new page, and each new word is a step forward. You are not alone. Just like Ali, you have a global community behind you, a community that understands the power of starting. The endless possibilities. The world is changing, and opportunities are everywhere. English is a tool that opens doors, but it's your passion, your dreams, and your dedication that will take you through them. Whether you want to speak with people from all over the world, travel, or create your own path, starting English from today will be your first step toward building your future. Start English from today, and never stop writing your story. The end number, because every time you begin something new, the story continues. The pages turn, and the adventure unfolds. And just like Ali, you will continue to inspire others who, too, will say, I started because I saw you begin. Certainly. Here's part 15, where the journey of growth and transformation continues. This chapter focuses on the power of community, persistence, and the ripple effect that a single action can create. Start English from today. Part 15, the power of persistence. The years had passed, and Ali had seen thousands of students come and go. Some stayed for just a few weeks, some stayed for years. Some learned quickly, while others struggled. But one thing remained constant. Everyone who walked through the doors of Ali's school shared something important. They were all willing to try. Ali had learned that the secret to success wasn't always about being perfect. It wasn't about having the best grammar, the most impressive vocabulary, or flawless pronunciation. The true secret to success was persistence. the willingness to keep going, even when the road was tough. And that was the lesson Ali taught his students every day, not just in words, but in his actions. The road to growth. One day, a student named Samira came to Ali looking discouraged. She had been struggling with English for months and was feeling frustrated. Ali, she said, I try every day, but it feels like I'm not improving. I'm not as good as the others. Exactly, Ali said. Every small step counts. And sometimes the growth happens in ways you can't see. The key is not to stop, no matter how difficult it feels. The ripple effect of effort. Weeks later, Samira came back to Ali with a huge smile on her face. Ali, I finally feel it, she exclaimed. I spoke to someone in English today. I made mistakes, but I didn't care. I was able to communicate, and that's all that matters. Ali smiled, proud of her. See? It wasn't the perfect sentence that mattered. It was the fact that you didn't give up. You spoke, you tried, and that made all the difference. Her success wasn't just her own, it was part of a larger ripple effect. Each student who persisted, who kept trying, added to the wave of inspiration that flowed through the school. Ali realized that every student's success was linked to someone else's. When one person learns, they inspire the next, and so the cycle continued. Your persistence matters. The journey of learning English is never a straight line. It has ups and downs, moments of joy, and moments of frustration. But the key is to keep going. Each day you persist, you are building the future you want. Even when you don't see the immediate results, every effort counts. Remember, you are never alone in this journey. The community you've joined is a global one. There are thousands of others who are learning, growing, and facing the same challenges. And together, you can all move forward. The future is yours. So, what will you do now? Will you keep going, even when it feels hard? Will you continue to write your story, one word at a time? Will you show others the power of persistence, just as Ali did? It's not just about mastering English, it's about building the confidence to speak, to express yourself, and to connect with the world. It's about creating a future where anything is possible, where every person has the power to dream and to achieve. Start English from today, and never stop growing. The end? No, because your story continues. Every choice you make, every word you speak, and every challenge you face is a part of your journey. The road to success isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. You've started. And with each step, you're getting closer to the person you want to become. The world is waiting for you. What will you do next? Absolutely. Here's part 16, where we focus on embracing challenges and the importance of resilience in learning and growth. This chapter highlights the inevitable setbacks and how they shape the journey toward success. Start English from today. Part 16, Embracing Challenges. As time passed, Ali's school flourished. More students joined every day, bringing their unique stories, dreams, and challenges. Some students were young, others were older, and some had already faced many hardships in life. But no matter where they came from or what they had gone through, they all had one thing in common: the desire to change. However, Ali knew that the path to success wasn't always smooth. There were days when students felt discouraged, when progress seemed slow, or when life's obstacles made learning difficult. Ali had learned an important lesson over the years. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. The hardest moments often led to the most rewarding breakthroughs. The struggle one afternoon, a student named Karim came to Ali looking defeated. He had been learning English for months, but he had reached a point where he felt he wasn't making any progress. His exams were coming up, and despite all his efforts, he felt stuck. I've been trying so hard, Ali, Karim said, but I don't think I'm good enough. Maybe I'm just not meant to be fluent in English. Weeks passed, and Karim continued to struggle, but instead of giving up, he changed his mindset. Instead of seeing his mistakes as failures, he began to see them as opportunities to improve. He would celebrate his small victories, like understanding a new phrase or speaking to someone in English without feeling embarrassed. One day, Karim stood in front of the class and gave a presentation in English. His hands shook, and his voice was soft at first, but as he continued, he grew more confident. By the end of his presentation, he was smiling, proud of how far he had come. Ali had learned that the most important skill was not to avoid challenges, but to embrace them. The people who succeed are not those who never face setbacks. They are the ones who rise up every time they fall, who keep pushing forward no matter how difficult the journey becomes. Your own resilience. Now, it's your turn. You will face challenges on your learning journey. There will be moments when you feel stuck, when you question your progress, or when you feel like giving up. But remember this, challenges are part of the process. They are not the end of the road. They are the beginning of something even better. If you make a mistake, celebrate it. If you face a setback, see it as an opportunity to grow. And if you ever feel like you can't go on, remember the stories of Ali, Karim, and all the others who embraced their struggles and turned them into triumphs. Start English from today, and when the challenges come, embrace them. They are the lessons that will shape you into someone even stronger. The end? No, because the journey continues. Every challenge you face is a part of your transformation. Every difficulty is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can keep going. The world is waiting for your success, and it starts with you. In this chapter, we see the power of resilience and how embracing challenges can turn obstacles into stepping stones. Would you like to reflect on your own challenges in learning, or discuss how you can stay motivated through tough times? I'm here to guide you through your journey, every step of the way.